Hello and welcome to the Employer Content Marketing Pod. I'm Chris LeCount-Harwood, your host of the podcast about employer marketing content. When the competition to attract and retain talent is fierce, organisations can't rely on just promoting their vacancies. They need to do a lot more than that. Enter employer content marketing. Joining me will be guests from inside and outside of the world of employer marketing. Let's get on with the chat. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you are listening. In episode 2, I chatted with Nick Francis from Casual Films about the importance of video and employer marketing. And I really wanted to continue that theme in this episode. Video is no doubt an important format for marketing, and the role of employees is a big part of this. In 2018, the Edelman Trust report found that 71% of people say employees are more believable spokespeople for a company than CEOs, which is a massive number. And that same report actually said that 67% of people refuse to work for or expect higher pay from an organization that did not share their values. So video is really important. You know, the role of employees is really important. But how do you get employees involved in video? And that's why I'm super happy to have Priya Shah here. And Priya is co-founder of Source, which is a smartphone video creation platform. Hi, Priya. How are you doing?
Hey, Chris. I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on your podcast.
My pleasure. Thanks for joining. Which part of the country are you based in at the moment?
So I'm confined to my flat in London right now.
Yeah.
I have a balcony, so I do wander out from time to time, but that's about it.
Lovely. Yeah, it's kind of joined it's been a bit of a working from home revolution, hasn't there, in the past few days? It's quite cool to see the amount of people using video conferencing, especially Zoom. I've heard of Zoom parties.
Yeah, we had beer
cool.
o'clock via Zoom on Friday last week. Yeah, it's a bit lonely because we're used to working, together in the office. We're quite a tight team, so yeah, it has been a bit of a challenge for us. But of course, with the kind of things that we're doing, we're seeing a huge kind of shift in being able to create content remotely. So it's an interesting time.
So tell us a bit about yourself. What's got you to this point?
Yeah, so I guess I'm one of the 4 co-founders of Source. So I met my co-founders probably about 8 years ago. So I I look at kind of the sales and marketing side, where my co-founders are really technical. So a bit of, I guess, background and context. I've always been really interested in technology and video. Since day dot, really. I think ever since I remember, I was creating videos as a kid, at home, using like Windows Movie Maker.
Oh, awesome.
I think I remember the first kind of desktop program that I bought was called, I think, Pinnacle Studio, and I would sit there editing these videos, like home style, you've been framed kind of content, and I think that really evolved when I did a gap year in ski season, and then I kind of started creating like holiday travel videos using my GoPro. And as GoPro kind of launched its first camera, that was a really exciting time for me, being extreme sports enthusiast. And so, yeah, I think, I met our co-founders, it was probably about 8 years ago. And that was a time when social media had really taken off. GoPro was out there doing some really cool stuff in the action sports world. And the iPhone camera, of course, starting to really revolutionize content. And these devices were just improving so quickly, and it was just super exciting if you are a content creator. And so I think the decision to build video technology and to make it easier for anyone else to be able to create video, for me, was kind of a no-brainer. And yeah, we kind of met about 8 years ago. We all have a really huge passion for extreme sports, and it's kind of how we all came together. And
So
yeah, we
is it
decided.
snowboarding for you then? Is that your main
So I'm a
sport?
ski instructor actually.
Oh
So
wow, okay.
yeah, but I've learned to snowboard recently. I kite surf in the summer. I speed ride. So anything that gets the adrenaline going,
Mm,
anything like that. That's
mm,
what you'll find me and all our other co-founders. We've got windsurf instructors, snowboarders, mountain bikers. Like we're all out and about on the weekend, and that's really our passion.
mm.
And so we came together. And all were equally excited about the GoPro back then, and the kind of content it could deliver. Wanted to make that easier for everyone to be able to create video content.
Mm.
You know, yeah.
Okay. And so tell us a bit about Source and what it actually is and what can you do with it?
Yeah. So our vision as a company, as a platform, is really to make it easy for people to create video
Mm,
using technology. It's as simple as that. So we're building those tools that remove a lot of the barriers that there are to creating video, and, and there's lots of them. So I suppose I guess you want to know how Source really came about.
mm,
Um, as I mentioned, we always set out to build video technology and creative tools for people. So originally, we were very much focused on making it really easy for consumers to create video using their smartphone cameras and their GoPros. Um, and kind of as we were building that technology, I ended up doing a lot of video production, like professional production for brands in the lifestyle kind of sector, which we've met along the way.
okay.
So things like events and lifestyle video shoots, that kind of stuff. And as we were building this technology for consumers, we also began to kind of understand that video creation process within brands and corporates. And it really kind of exposed us to a lot of the problems that they were facing when creating video content. So
What kind of challenges were they facing then? What was the
yeah, so
barrier?
yeah, so it was really interesting because on one hand we'd built some awesome technology for consumers, and then on the other hand we were being paid lots and lots of money to create high-end videos that would last
Mm,
only a few days on social media. And so the problems, as we spoke to our clients, we kind of uncovered that they wanted to create more video at scale with people, whether it was their fans or people that worked for their companies all around the world, but they couldn't do because either the barriers of cost, so budgets weren't there, or the technology for them to actually be able to use, do things collaboratively or with their iPhones. So a
mm,
lot of those challenges were there, and it became more apparent because of the scale of video that they need to produce was increasing.
mm,
Um, so whilst they were used to running shoots with the professional video teams, like to do that at scale, like they weren't able to do that.
mm,
And so that's one of the kind of big challenges that we were experiencing with brands that we spoke to. So I think literally when we were having a beer, like one day in the pub below our office, we kind of came up with the idea of Source, which would be a platform this time aimed at brands to be able to create video with smartphones. Um, so it was kind of a revelationary kind of moment that we had, I think.
nice.
Um, and, I think the line between consumer creative technology and business creative technology is really blurring.
Mm,
Because, of course, you're used to using all these apps and creating videos, Instagram on your phone in your personal life. And why should that be really different for the way brands need to create video as well today?
absolutely. I remember the days of getting clients, employees to shoot their own video on their mobile phone, and just then remember the following emails with links to video files and having to download them all, and it was very, very labor intensive. So when I came across this kind of technology, I was like, wow, these angels exist. It's a fantastic piece of tech.
Yeah, absolutely. There's video can be tricky because the file sizes can be so big and people are capturing on so many different devices. Um, there are, of course, collaboration tools out there, where you can collect assets and different things, but they're not necessarily specifically built for video. And there's a lot of intricate things, around video that make it then difficult. So, so we're providing the solution for that, really.
So kind of so take us through the steps that someone would go through to actually go from having their mobile phone and no video for a client to actually then that client have a video. What do they have to do with your software to actually generate that video?
Yeah, so our platform is designed, for teams that are maybe not, for all kinds of teams actually, from teams that have zero video experience, so may have never created a video before, all the way up to teams that do have that professional editing or video project kind of management within their teams. So in a nutshell, like the way the platform works is you would create a project. And this project is, let's say, for example, you want to create a day in the life video series of what it's like working for your company. You set up that project, add a shot list, which is like your storyboard, and you design that in the platform. And then you'd simply invite people into your project, and they could be your employees, they could be fans, customers, and they join your project. So it's like a private kind of space, a mini film crew, of all of you guys working together to collaborate. And they simply capture that content, that could be videos and photos, just on their phones, and upload that into the project from the mobile device. And then all of that content is then centralized for the content creator, the video editor and the team, to access that in one place, review it, ultimately edit that, and then publish that into their social channels. So that's kind of how it works in a nutshell.
So it becomes a bit of an Aladdin's cave of video content for anyone in post-production to then edit to their heart's content.
Yeah, exactly. So it removes a lot of those barriers there are to creating video. And I think to kind of just expand, I guess, on the challenges and those barriers, the problems that I guess we solve. There's probably three big challenges that we're seeing with video content, and the first one being cost. So I touched upon this earlier. Typically, like, video is seen to be expensive to create. It can be expensive to create. If you're hiring a film crew agency of people, it can be expensive because it's everyone's time you're paying for. You're paying for professional services, and businesses can pay up to £30,000 for one video to be produced, which is crazy when you think about the scale at which you want to create.
My goodness, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not only cost, it's time. So it can take months to create that video. But if you look at the amount of video you now need to create for all your different channels, that kind of method isn't sustainable. So you do need alternative methods of creating video. And that's not to say you should completely ditch professional produced video, because that's not the case. And there is still very much a need for that. However, you do need other methods, other ways of creating the rest of the video outside of that.
Surely there's a chance to actually integrate. Surely there's a chance to integrate, that user-generated, employee-generated content with the higher-end production video content.
Yeah, well. Absolutely, and we've seen that happen on our platform. So where a professional team is creating a highly produced, nice talking head kind of interview style story, but however, they've also collected lots of user-generated content to use as additional footage within that video, and those may be photos that person that they're interviewing has already got on their phone, that they've captured, from wherever they're from, or video clips as well. And you can also start to intertwine user-generated content with kind of professionally produced content. And yeah, so we do see quite a lot of that as well. But I suppose we think a lot of video. We believe a lot of video, like the majority of video a brand needs to create, can be shot on a smartphone. And if you look at the technology that in smartphones, and what they're all improving with every single release, it's the smartphone camera. And so that gap between the smartphone camera and professional camera is really narrowing, so much that many people can't even tell how it's being shot. So, if you do want a cost-effective way, then you should be leveraging the smartphone camera technology that everyone has in their pockets. Everyone's walking around with a camera, and then empower your teams to have those skills to be able to capture, to be able to edit that content. Everyone's used to adding photos and videos on Instagram and LinkedIn and personal lives, so it's just businesses need to adapt, so they can kind of, I guess, bring those skills more into their business and empower their teams to be able to do that, whether it's for internal comms, recruitment, kind of social media, content marketing.
Absolutely. They still have, and the clients still have full control over what is then published live, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's one of the things we get asked a lot about, is we, a brand coming to us and saying, we really want to do employee-led video. We want that authenticity, but we still need to have that brand control. And of course, we understand that's really important, because you have to have the right messaging, and it has to look like your brand as well. So that's one of the beauties of the platform, where you can collaborate with your employees, and get them to capture really great, unique, candid content. But that video is all being centralized, so your team can watch it, they can review it, they can pick which bits they want to ultimately have in the final content that then gets published. So you've kind of got the best of both. And I think still with user generated content, you need to tell a good story. And that's still really important. And that's why in the platform, we've developed those tools like the Shotlist tool, where you can basically storyboard your story and direct it. So, that's really, really important. Is the content has to be engaging, has to tell a story. And it can still be, authentic. It doesn't have to necessarily be produced to tell the story.
So you've got those templates that you've already kind of pre-made templates that people can use, like day in the life templates, which means that those shot lists, those questions are there, and those shot lists then become, I suppose, the guidance for people then to answer those questions and tell their story.
Yeah, exactly. So we've designed those templates to kind of inspire our users and people to start their projects. Because as I said, many of the people that use the Source platform are not your professional creative teams. They may that they could be an internal comms, and video plays one part of their role. Where they're doing lots and lots of other stuff. So the platform really helps them get a head start on their video creation process. And those templates are there then to set up, to give them some inspiration, to help them kickstart their project. So we have all kinds of templates designed for a day in the life series. Whether you're recruiting for a particular role, how do you create a video about telling people about that role, all the way to kind of conference and event videos, and that we see a lot of on the platform as well.
Nice. So a kind of typical situation would be where, the project is set up, so the questions are all there, the link is ready to be shared, and then that is, say, emailed out or WhatsApped out to a selection of employees. It could be all employees, it could be a particular group of employees, and then they can go away and shoot the video in their own time.
Yeah, exactly. Nailed it. So yeah, cool. You'd invite them, you just share the link through your comms channels. And we also generate a QR code, and we've seen that being used. That's really interesting. So you could print out a QR code at a conference on a flyer, and people can scan that and immediately film and upload a piece of video. So you can start collecting lots and lots of video content really quickly. And the great thing is, people can do it in their own time. So before, when you had to organize a film shoot and get a room and a meeting room or a studio, and people would have to sit there and they'd have pressure, to film their interview or something. Using this method, people can be really comfortable, because they can film in their own environment at their own time. And if you're asking people that are not used to talking on camera to do that, people can get nervous, and their confidence can quickly fall if you shove a big fat camera in their face. So this is a really great method of getting that authenticity across, and real passion and real, insights from people in a way in which they're comfortable. So yeah, I think that kind of plays into the authenticity part, and getting lots of different perspectives from all kinds of people.
When I was talking to, go on. Sorry, go on.
No, sorry, Karen.
As when I was talking to Nick in my other episode about video, he was saying that sometimes when people just see that red light, record light turn on, they kind of freeze a little bit. So often, stuff you shoot, you get the camera rolling as soon as they're sat down, so they don't feel that it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, action, let's go. So this actually does that to a massive extent, doesn't it? You can do it in your own time,
absolutely.
and redo it. I'm assuming redo it again, can't you? Because if you're not happy with it,
exactly, you can reshoot it. And I've joked before when the cameras come on, so I know exactly what you mean. And I think it's just more natural, right? People don't want to be sold to anymore. So if you've got someone shooting behind the camera and they're kind of directing someone to say the great things about your company, it can feel very unnatural and very salesy, even if it is an employee and being shot, when it's highly produced. So this is a way of getting that kind of the natural, authentic side across, because they are doing it themselves. They're speaking from their hearts. And they're willing to be part of this campaign that you're running, this project. So that's another thing, is you want to get that across, and you don't want to be very salesy in the way you do it.
What I really liked actually is just the fact that someone can submit their video, but then you can message people saying, "Oh, that's great. Can you maybe do some more, please?" So actually, going back to my times of having to deal with organizing video through emails, just was so laborious. But to be able to message people within the app is fantastic.
So engagement,
a lot easier to manage.
So that's a big part of it as well, making it hassle free and time saving. So of course you can collect video via email or Dropbox or some other method where you're collecting content with a cloud-based platform. However, you're not going to have that engaging, the engagement throughout the life cycle of your project. So we've kind of built those tools inside Source. So from the moment someone joins a project, the person managing that project can send them a welcome message. They can give them some tips on how to shoot video. As people upload video content, you can directly message each person and comment and give them some great feedback on their video. So it's very much around being able to create high quality user-generated content, because you can communicate with people all through the platform, rather than sending them emails that get stuck in an inbox, or a Slack message on another channel. So we've designed it in a way and looked at a lot of those barriers and times in that life cycle of a project where engagement may drop off, and design the features around that to help people create good quality content.
And you get scale as well, don't you? I mean, I remember using this kind of software a few years ago with a client in the Middle East, and we said, well, we know that you haven't got massive budgets to produce video, but actually let's use this software and ping a link out to an app to your employees, and then actually we said you get 70 videos. We thought we'd be modest with our estimate, and they end up getting over 250 videos. So that scale would have been so difficult to achieve if I'd stuck with my email employees approach. It would have taken a long time to do that. And the great thing was that from a kind of an agency side of things is that we then had lots and lots of video content to do edits from,
Mm.
and that
And
content could
that's,
last us a long time as well.
yeah, exactly. And that's one of the barriers actually, is how, do you create video at scale? And then there's, I guess, a couple of things to that. So
Mm.
the first one is, how do you create, like you said, enough video content that appeals to your local audiences? So if you're a global company, and you have local audiences, right, through your channels, and so how do you create videos that's in tune with them, that's relevant and engaging for that audience, whether that's
Mm.
having shots that are filmed in that country, or in their local language. So how do you create that? And then I think um, the other part of scale is, let's say your team is globally dispersed. So how do you collaborate between your team that is in across different time zones, and creating that kind of collaborative platform,
Mm.
then removes a lot of those barriers. So you can all dive in to source. You can all look at the footage because it's all on the cloud. You can all review it together. So it just speeds up that process of creating video, because everything's centralized and you can all work on it together. So whether your team's global and you have scale that way, or you need to produce at scale for different audiences, like there's those barriers, are, all those challenges that we're solving those.
Mm. And our listeners, they love a case study. So what example have you got of a client you've worked with, and what kind of results have you got from that?
Yeah, so I guess there's a few projects that jump to mind of probably my favorite. I think my favorite one would be a project we ran with the Royal Parks Half Marathon.
Okay.
And whilst it wasn't with employees, it was with the runners who were running the marathon, and they ran a campaign called Why I Run. And it was all around collecting authentic stories of why people were running this half marathon. And they'd never done anything like this before. So they just shared a link to the source project on their Facebook page, and got people to submit their videos. And the videos we got were incredible. Like, we were so overwhelmed by the number and what was in those videos, like the actual content. It was so authentic, and it was just so many different perspectives, unique stories. We were able to actually make 4 films from those videos that
Okay.
were the most watched films, that videos that they'd posted on their Facebook page ever. Um, and then they decided to actually show the film in Hyde Park, like during the race, which was really amazing to
Oh, that's
see.
good. That's lovely.
Um, yeah, so I think that was a huge success.
Actually,
When
that's
it
that's a
comes,
good sorry, that's a good example actually. So you
yeah,
made me think about the kind of that question that was asked to those people who are running that half marathon, is really good because actually, you can have great piece of software, but if you're not asking the right questions or getting the right, prompting people in the right way, you're not going to get good content, are you? So that's a really nice example of asking the right question, because I can imagine there are some really quite poignant and heartfelt stories that came from
mm,
that question of, why are you running?
yeah, exactly. And video was one part of that campaign.
Mm.
So often, it's not just, oh, we're going to create a user generated video and that's going to solve all our problems. It's generally built into a strategy. So
Mm.
when we talk to clients, we are looking at what other forms of content are you creating? Is there a blog that this is going to be intertwined with? You're going to put some short bits of video within your blog, to make it engaging and come to life. Are you creating a careers website where you have, you're showing off, the 10 different job roles that you have, and where can video fit into that?
Mm.
So, this video is one part, user generated video is one part of, of a campaign, or, one way to communicate. And it's really important to think about it, the wider campaign and how you're going to deploy that and how you're going to execute. So we spend a lot of time, helping our clients strategize, on how they're going to execute, how they're going to launch a source project,
Mm.
and how that video is also going to be, posted then online onto their channels, and how they can do that, and how they can make different kinds of videos appeal to different people and get the most out of that content that's then been captured. So we do a lot of work around that to really maximize the projects that people are running.
Yeah, definitely. You can't plan for the one edit, can you? There's a whole, if you plan it the right way, there's a whole host of content that you can get, which you can dine off from a marketing
Yeah,
for a
exactly.
month.
Yeah, so we did a day in the life like video series for a client, and those videos were um, ultimately being posted on their blogs. They were then also being repurposed for YouTube, and then they were also being shown on their kind of roadshow when they go to universities on campus hiring. So they were also then used at live events.
Yeah,
So
that's
there were
really
some small differences in the end video that were produced, so they would fit each of these channels, but they can be repurposed for lots of things. And it's important to think about that as you're developing the plan for it.
yeah.
And that was really successful. I think they'd had more kind of engagement than ever because they'd put engaging content online in their in their blogs and places. So that's just another example. I think one that's really interesting for me is the candidate experience. So you can do recruitment marketing and kind of outbound video, but one of the things is, how do you engage candidates on that journey? So one interesting video has been that we've seen has been a welcome video. So maybe if your teams are remote or everyone's across different locations, once you've hired someone, you can create content before they actually start their first day in the office. So you can get your team to all capture a kind of a welcome message, stitch that together in Source really easily, and then send that to that person before they arrive on their first day. So they
That's
kind of
really nice.
recognize
Yeah.
people. And I think with remote working at the moment, the way things are going is that people that have been hired may not see the office for a while. So it's really important to give them, that touch point and that, I guess, bit of content that's been created before they jump on that Zoom call where they're brand new to a business. So there's some really important things that you can think about on the candidate journey and employee experience at the moment, given the current situation as well.
I think you're absolutely spot on. Actually, I think this current situation we find ourselves in is I've seen a lot more content on LinkedIn of people going, "Oh, we're onboarding somebody, through Zoom, purely online." And I think actually what this does is it makes you think even more about what someone is doing before they join. So yeah, there's so many good opportunities, isn't there, to actually come up with content, not only for candidates who are going through the application process, but when they have accepted that job offer, that they absolutely feel like they are part of the company before they join, which is something that people have been saying for a long, long time. But I think now is particularly important. I think people are now being forced into absolutely making sure that happens 100%.
Yeah, exactly. And the more human you can be with that, the better.
Yeah, you're right. And I mean, we've touched on a bit of advice already, but what advice would you give anybody who is considering, any organization is considering employee generated video content?
Yeah, good question. So my first bit of advice would really be to be brave and don't be scared about your video not being perfect. We do hear that a lot where brands are like, yeah, but the quality is not going to be great, and they're not going to say exactly what I want. But that's the whole point of
Mm,
authentic content, right? We're not looking for pixel perfect videos here. And people will make a mistake and they'll stumble, but that's okay. People accept that, and actually, people, if you're too perfect, people don't believe it anymore.
mm,
So don't be scared about that. If this is something new for you, you just got to try it, and then kind of assess and look at how people engage with it, and then iterate on that. So put something out there, and then chop and change that. Experiment a little bit as you try different things out, because there's lots of opportunity, and you can be very, very creative when you start to collaborate with different people, different perspectives, people around the world, and you can start to create some really, really exciting content. But it's important to think about that story and just experiment with it and see where you go. I mean, using something like Source, like, you ultimately don't have to publish the video that is then captured and collected in our platform. It's up to you. But I think you'll be surprised with the quality that you're going to get and with the content that you're going to get. Our clients are always wowed by employees being super creative and just saying things that they would never have expected. So it can really open up a whole new channel, but you've got to be prepared to experiment, be prepared to fail one of a few times. Because if you're not, then your content is going to be vanilla. It's going to be it's going to be the same as everyone else's. So just think about that, and just go for it.
I think there's a particular opportunity now, isn't there? I think what with so many people working from home and the whole thing around collaboration being really important, and actually you could argue that employer brands have never been more important now to make sure that those people working remotely feel connected. Then actually something like this would go down an absolute treat when it's about showing off an employer brand through your employees at challenging times like this, for sure.
Definitely. I think we're going to see some really interesting things come out of the next few months as we adapt to this new way of working. It may even stay. So I think it's important to have those things in place where you can seamlessly collaborate, you can keep the content going, because we don't have face-to-face contact at the moment, and word of mouth. Like, it's more important than ever to have that presence on digital and to be human. Like, people really wanting that human kind of authentic content at the moment. So it's more important than ever. And I think the brands that do adapt to that quickly are going to really see great results because they do have that presence, and people are watching the content and they're engaging with it, and it appeals to them. So having the technology to be able to do that is really important.
I think you're spot on as well about the just trying something out. Actually that thing of test and learn and being in a constant state of piloting is, I think, something that isn't the negative that some people think it is. It's you can get people to, just a handful of people, to try out the app first of all, get more comfortable with it yourself and make them comfortable with it, and then at very least you have something that you can use internally.
Yeah,
Once you've got
exactly.
that, you can then go externally. So yeah, that definitely, I really like that piece around kind of iterating and just trying something first of all, because otherwise you'll never start, you never do something different, will you?
Yeah, no, we understand, there's many forces, like, and many different stakeholders in the business. You may be the internal comms team, but then you've got marketing, you've got brand, creative that may also want to get involved. And it's about everyone being comfortable. So yeah, one of the things, just as you said, is experiment internally first without pushing that content out externally, and see how people within the business react, and get those processes and ideas locked down with your own with your own employees internally, and then work out, get brand on board, get them comfortable. And marketing might also see some opportunities in using smartphone content. So it's definitely a good way to approach it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we're nearly done on time, actually. But yeah, thanks very much, Priya. That's really, really good chat with you. And what I'll do is I'll drop in links into the episode description to what we've talked about. So any case study links I'll drop in there, so that anyone can just ping over and see some of that video content. And of course, drop in a link to source.video. That's the place to go if you want to find out more about Priya's piece of software, and see what they're doing. But it's definitely worthwhile checking out. And the good news as well is that it doesn't have to cost the earth to start on this. So definitely get onto source.video to check it out. But yeah, thanks very much, Priya, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me. Great chat, and yeah, I hope that was useful.
Good.
Yeah, provide some good insights for everyone.
Yeah, really good. Thanks very much. Take care.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to follow or subscribe for the latest episode drops. And don't forget to get in touch if you want to contribute.